If I asked you to think of some LGBTQ-friendly travel destinations, most of your minds would likely skip over the 15 ex-Soviet countries. This is of course for good reason, as most remain quite abysmal places to be queer, even in 2025. But today, I'm going to introduce you to a massively underrated country that has recently been making immense progress in LGBTQ rights, including, but not limited to, the introduction of civil unions just last week. For those who have not yet guessed, this is Lithuania, a gorgeous and rapidly developing country situated in northeastern Europe along the Baltic Sea. It's a destination that's beginning to shine, not just for its stunning old towns and castles, but also for the powerful cultural, socioeconomic, and legal shifts that are sweeping the country and making it one of Europe's greatest success stories. A transformation that has seen Lithuania, along with its neighbors Latvia and Estonia, increasingly reject the ultra-conservative and socially backwards values that were pushed on them while under Russian occupation. And in doing so, they have reinvigorated their distinct national identities, built upon the values of democracy, individual liberty, and yes, queer rights too. Of course, the picture isn't all perfect, and it's important to say up front that LGBTQ people in Lithuania still face challenges, with lingering pockets of conservative resistance in many Soviet-minded, Christian nationalist, and less educated communities across the country. But the presence of such misguided, and in some cases blatantly hateful individuals, does not erase the immense legislative progress that has already and continues to be made. Nor does it overshadow the powerful rise of grassroots queer activism and the rapidly increasing public visibility and support for our community in Lithuania. And so, today, we are going to explore these recent legal wins that have taken place in this country, discuss some of my personal experiences during my month-long stay in Lithuania, and by the end of it all, I'm confident you will have a newfound appreciation for this brave Baltic nation, and may just decide to add it to your future travel plans. So, let's dive in. In the middle of April 2025, Lithuania's Supreme Court ruled that denying legal recognition for same-sex couples was unconstitutional, leading to the creation of civil unions. Because of this ruling, LGBTQ couples can now register their union in court and will receive many of the same benefits that a full marriage would entail. The details are still a bit unclear, and the court has mandated Lithuania's parliament to draft concrete legislation on civil unions and outlining exactly which rights queer couples will obtain. Now, you already know that I love Lithuania, but let me just say that after the rather disappointing 2024 election results, this incredible news took me by surprise, and here are a few reasons why. First, the country's dehydrated fish-looking president explicitly voiced opposition to civil unions, and even more extreme opposition to marriage equality. And though I do respect his staunch support for Ukraine against Russia's terroristic and genocidal war, it's unfortunately quite clear that he is deeply regressive on other important issues. Additionally, while the current largest party in parliament claims to be center-left and to advocate for our people's equal rights on paper, in reality, they support many center-right policies and have failed to act on many of their promises. But worse than their inaction is the fact that they disgracefully entered into an opportunistic coalition deal with a party that is viciously religious, extremely anti-queer, and holds violently to traditionalist ideologies. In fact, the leaders of this radical junior coalition partner have even stated their intention to try and block the implementation of the Supreme Court civil union mandate. Now, I do need to add, for those who hear this and worry, that the spectacle this deranged and out-of-touch political party is trying to cause is likely little more than pandering to their hateful and primitive-minded base of angry religious zealot voters. They thankfully hold very few seats in government, and even if they are trying to destabilize the country's democratic processes, the broader Lithuanian government still seems to be committed to the rule of law, and I have faith in Lithuania to not allow these fanatics to infringe on the court's independence and jurisdiction. So, regardless of what these insecure and pathetic obstructionists from Lithuania's relatively small radical right movement tries to do, the country's Supreme Court ruling is ironclad, and Lithuania has now joined its two Baltic neighbors in recognizing LGBTQ relationships, with Estonia achieving full marriage equality in January of 2024, and Latvia introducing civil unions in July of last year. As for past legislation, we only have to look back to the end of 2024 to see another positive development when Lithuania finally overturned a 2010 censorship bill that targeted our community and fined individuals for even discussing the fact that LGBTQ people exist in schools and public spaces where a minor could overhear. Even saying something like, "Some people have two mommies," could have landed you with a massive fine before December 18th of 2024. So, removing this barbaric law was a massive win for the country, its citizens, and for all of Europe's credibility as a freedom-loving continent. In terms of trans rights, Lithuania has also been making solid progress. On February 2nd, 2022, the requirement for trans people to undergo surgery before being able to change their legal gender was dropped, and now a medical diagnosis is all that is required. Halfway through 2022, Lithuania also made gender-affirming care far more accessible in the country, and now provides hormone therapy within its healthcare system. An anti-discrimination law does also exist in Lithuania, but it only covers sexual orientation, so hopefully in the near future, we will see gender identity added to these protections. As for public opinion polling in the country, we can observe a very split society that definitely could benefit from more education and a stronger loyalty to the ideals of liberty and self-determination. But despite the less than stellar polling data, we do still see far higher levels of support than in the vast majority of other ex-Soviet countries. So, yes, at the end of the day, Lithuania is not perfect and work remains to be done, but it is certainly on the right path and has genuinely come far in a relatively short amount of time. And, as it is one of the few countries that is still moving in the right direction at this moment in time, I believe Lithuania deserves a lot more attention than it currently receives. As for my own experiences in the country, let's just say that 1 month was not enough time, and that I was beyond impressed with Lithuania on so many levels. During my stay, I managed to visit quite a few cities, including Vilnius, Kaunas, Klaipėda, Šiauliai, and Bene. Each one of these cities was charming, clean, and I felt incredibly safe when visiting with my boyfriend. Now, just for fun, I'll share some photos that I took in each city, starting with Vilnius, the capital. Of course, the old town of the city is incredible and cozy, and meets every medieval and classical fantasy one could have. But what surprised me most was the high-tech, futuristic, central business district area. For a relatively small city in a relatively small country, Lithuania really punches above its weight. I loved the architecture so much that I had a near constant smile everywhere I walked. Also, I was there in spring, and the parks are spectacular, everyone is well behaved, and as stated before, it's just so clean and peaceful and organized, which for me is very important. Kaunas, the country's second largest city, was also quite a treat. The 14th century castle near the city center and its surrounding area was majestic. The old town was a joy to spend time strolling through, and I was also impressed with the main mall and how hyper-modern everything there was. Also, some of the newly built apartments had me wishing I was not broke, because I wanted one desperately. Now, for the coastal city of Klaipėda, I feel like the greatest draw has to be the nearby Crony and Spit National Park. My boyfriend and I really enjoyed hiking this area and taking in all the fresh air blowing in from the Baltic Sea. Beyond the nature, though, the city of Klaipėda itself is also worth exploring. The mix of Germanic, Nordic, and Baltic influences all merged together in Klaipėda and have created such a fascinating local history and culture there. A smaller Lithuanian city I really enjoyed was Šiauliai, and while I was only there for 1 day, I fell in love with its laid-back and peaceful energy. It's the kind of place you can just let your guard down in. North of the city is the famous Hill of Crosses. Super creepy area, but also cool and worth the visit. It definitely gives off horror movie vibes, but in a good way. And last but not least, I want to highlight the city where I literally had the best ramen in my life, Bene. I know it's wild to think that I've been to countries like China, Taiwan, and big cities like New York, London, LA, Paris, San Francisco, and still, the best ramen I've ever had was in a mid-sized city in Lithuania. But beyond this very memorable meal, the city had such a beautiful town center, and there are many lovely places to go on a walk and admire the architecture, all while feeling totally secure and relaxed. And as someone who has been to many places in the world, that is a feeling that I don't take for granted. Oh, and I also wanted to add this final picture that I took in Vilnius of a pride walkway. Yes, it's in need of a repaint, but it definitely made me smile to see anyway. Now, in light of everything I have said, I do think it's important to stress that my positive review of Lithuania, and the highlighting of its many recent legal wins for our people, is not meant to minimize any negative experiences that I know queer people still face in the country. I'm sure there are many LGBTQ people in Lithuania who can't wait to one day pack up their bags and head to a big, famously progressive city like Copenhagen, Berlin, or Bangkok. Someone watching today has likely had a really horrible experience with homophobia or transphobia in Lithuania, and that is unacceptable. If that is you, just know you are seen. We live in a world where no country is completely free from prejudice, and some places simply come closer than others to achieving true equality. Nowhere is perfect, and that is something I try to drive home in every video. But nevertheless, Lithuania is still a pretty incredible place when compared to so much of the world. Its laws have improved massively in recent years, and it is one of the few countries trending up on just about every positive metric, a rarity in this current time of history. So while progress is without a doubt necessary, I am confident in saying that Lithuania is worth having on your radar, and that it is a far too beautiful and special place to be as overlooked and misunderstood as it currently is. So, thank you friends for watching and spending time today with me as we seek to spread the word about important topics in the community. For those interested, you are more than welcome to stay around and join our increasingly powerful kingdom here on YouTube as we fight for our future. Until next time, QK out.